is Radio Prague International, coming to you from the Czech capital.
Hello, and welcome to Radio Prague International. I'm Anne-Marie Regner, and you're listening to Czechia in 30 minutes. Coming up on today's program, St. Vitus Cathedral receives a monumental new organ. After years in the making, it will finally be inaugurated today. A unique archive of documents pieces together the stories of thousands of Jews connected to Ostrava. Beat Bohanka tours the Church of St. Martin in the Wall in Prague off the beaten track. All that coming up later, but first, here are today's top headlines brought to you by Daniela Lazarova.
News.
The Czech government has approved an amendment to the law abolishing television and radio license fees and replacing them with direct state funding for public broadcasters. According to Culture Minister Otto Klempíř, the proposed annual amount is fair, predictable and indexed to inflation. Czech television would receive 5.74 billion crowns a year, while Czech radio would receive 2.065 billion crowns. Under the proposal, Czech television would lose £1 billion annually, Czech radio roughly 350 million. The plan has drawn criticism from the opposition, media experts and employees of Czech television and Czech radio, who are on strike alert and are planning to go on a warning strike next Monday. The demands for guarantees in the proposed law that they would not be open to political pressure have not been met. The culture minister stated that this was not necessary since no changes have been made to the other two laws pertaining to the operation and mission of the country's public broadcasters. The funding bill is expected to stir heated debate in Parliament. Croatian divers have found the body of a missing person from the yacht that sank with a Czech crew near Split, bringing the death toll from the collision to 4. The yacht, sailing under the French flag and carrying 8 Czech nationals, sank after colliding with a passenger catamaran carrying 125 people. According to the Czech consul in Zagreb, 4 Czech survivors were taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Croatian authorities continue to investigate the circumstances of the collision. Large numbers of Czech nursing homes, home care services and other social care facilities are facing shortages of funding for both operations and wages, with some considering staff layoffs and reductions in care, the CTK news agency reported. The findings come from a survey conducted by the Association of Social Service Providers among 197 facilities. Social care providers receive state subsidies for services delivered to seniors, people with disabilities and other vulnerable groups. According to the association, 3/4 of organizations received less funding this year than they did in 2025, despite a government-mandated increase in wages. Labour and Social Affairs Minister Aleš Juchelka of the ANO party has pledged to hold talks on additional funds for the sector. The governing coalition is preparing significant changes to state support for mortgages from 2028. Under the proposal, people under the age of 36 would receive more generous tax deductions on mortgage interest payments than they do at present. Some older and wealthier borrowers, however, could lose part of their existing tax relief. Finance Minister Alena Schillerová plans to present a detailed reform proposal to the government by the end of June. A blessing ceremony for the new organ at St. Vitus Cathedral at Prague Castle will take place on Monday at 5 p.m. as part of a church service featuring Antonín Dvořák's Lužany Mass. The organ was built by a renowned Spanish master organ builder. The blessing ceremony will be followed by a series of 6 concerts culminating in a televised gala concert from the cathedral on June the 21st. More than 135 million crowns were raised for the new organ through a nationwide public fundraising campaign involving thousands of donors. And finally, a quick look at the weather forecast. Tuesday should bring partly cloudy to overcast skies with rain in the northern and western parts of the country and day temperatures between 18 and 22 degrees Celsius. I'm Daniela Lazarova, and that's the end of the news.
After years of fundraising, design work, and construction, the new organ for St. Vitus Cathedral is finally complete. Built in Spain, inspired by a Czech natural landmark, and funded by public donations, the instrument will be inaugurated with a ceremonial service and concert at Prague Castle. Romana Grajcarová has the story.
For centuries, Prague's famous St. Vitus Cathedral has been shaped not only by architects and craftsmen, but also by the generosity of ordinary people. From stained glass windows funded by banks and businesses to today's public fundraising campaigns, the Czech Republic's most important cathedral has long relied on collective support. The latest chapter in that tradition has just reached its conclusion. Following a nationwide campaign that raised more than 135 million crowns, a new organ designed to combine Spanish craftsmanship, Czech artistic inspiration, and a unique sound is ready to fill the Gothic interior of St. Vitus Cathedral for generations to come. 6 years ago, organist Josef Křica traveled to a small workshop near Barcelona to try the instrument himself.
Se hrálo dobře, je to bezkonkurenční stroj. Musím říct, že mě ten nástroj okouzlil.
I enjoyed playing it immensely. It is an unparalleled instrument. I have to say it truly captivated me, and I look forward to seeing it installed in the cathedral.
Těším se, až bude stát v katedrále.
The artistic design of the organ was created by automotive designer Peter Olach. He drew inspiration from Panská skala, a Czech national natural monument in the Liberec region, often nicknamed the stone organ because of its distinctive basalt columns. When the rock freezes in winter, crystalline formations appear between the columns. This inspired the inclusion of 1 meter-long crystal elements produced in the Czech glassworks.
Spojení varhaních píšťal a křišťálu nebo skla je...
The combination of organ pipes and crystal or glass is unique, and that is what will make our organ exceptional from both an artistic and architectural perspective.
a architektonické stránce ojedinělé.
Said Štěpán Svoboda, a diocesan organ specialist at the Prague Archbishopric, speaking on Czech radio.
Oni samozřejmě budou ojedinělé i svým zvukem.
The organ will also be distinctive in its sound. Just as languages differ from one another, so too do the voices of organ pipes. The instrument's Spanish origins will therefore bring a character unlike that of organs traditionally heard in the Czech lands.
Tak se i liší mluva varhaních píšťal.
Preparing the cathedral gallery for the installation required extensive work, including the installation of new electrical wiring and the restoration of the stone balcony known as the choir loft. These upgrades were necessary to support the organ, which features 4 manuals, a pedalboard and 96 stops. Its smallest pipe measures just 7 millimeters, while the largest exceeds 7 meters in length. After years of work, planning and craftsmanship, the new organ for St. Vitus Cathedral is finally complete. And today it will be officially inaugurated. What can visitors expect during the ceremonial presentation of the unique instrument? According to Jakub Skřejpek, vice chairman of the board of the St. Vitus Organ Foundation Fund, the ceremony will bear a strong symbolic element.
Při tom slavnostním žehnání vystoupí Česká filharmonie, obrovský sbor.
The inauguration ceremony will feature the Czech Philharmonic, a large choir, and a choir from Catalonia. It is symbolic because that is where the organ was built.
To znamená z místa, kde varhany vznikaly.
The ceremony will take place on Monday at 5 p.m. as part of a church service featuring Antonín Dvořák's Lužany Mass.
Romana Grajcarová with that report. For nearly 25 years, Libuše Salomonovičová has been piecing together the stories of Jewish families connected to Ostrava in the northeastern Czech region of Moravia, Silesia. Now, the 89-year-old researcher has donated her life's work, a unique archive containing records of some 33,000 people, to Ostrava's city archive. Ruth Franková has the story.
Although not Jewish herself, Libuše Salomonovičová married into a Jewish family. Her late husband, Michal Salomonovič, survived Auschwitz and several other concentration camps. She recalls meeting him as a young woman in the 1950s.
I'm not Jewish, but I married into a Jewish family in 1957. I actually met my husband on the construction site of the Nová Huť Klement Gottwald steelworks. They were digging the foundations, and in return, you got free train travel.
A former employee of the Ostrava Museum, Salomonovičová, began researching the city's Jewish community after retiring. What started as a retirement project soon grew into a vast undertaking. Over the years, she worked through registry books, census records and archives, while corresponding with descendants of Ostrava Jews living around the world. The result is an extraordinary collection documenting around 33,000 people who passed through Ostrava between the 19th century and the end of the Second World War. They include poor migrants who arrived from Galicia in search of work, as well as merchants, hotel owners, architects and other prominent figures who helped shape the city's development. The archive consists of 34 card index boxes packed with names, photos, family histories and personal stories. As the archive grew, it gradually took over parts of her home.
I had some of it on the floor in the kitchen, some of it in the hallway. Back then, families didn't just have one child. A man might have had 5 sons, and his file alone would be this thick. Today, I've handed it all over. Around 33,000 Jews passed through Ostrava from the 19th century until 1945.
After nearly 25 years of research, Salomonovičová decided the time had come to part with the collection. Her deteriorating eyesight made it increasingly difficult to continue the work. Although institutions in Prague and Tel Aviv expressed interest in acquiring the archive, she was determined that it should remain in Ostrava, the city whose Jewish community she had spent decades documenting. The collection has now found a permanent home in the City Archive of Ostrava. According to its director Hanna Šustková, it will be valuable not only to historians and researchers, but also for practical administrative purposes.
It is an enormous amount of work, an enormous effort, and it took her 25 years. It is valuable not only for scholarly research into the Jewish community and social history, but also for our official work. We still deal with applications for the restoration of Czech citizenship. Every week, several requests arrive from all over the world. Using these archival materials, we help determine whether applicants are entitled to citizenship or not.
Before World War II, Jews made up almost 1 in 10 residents of Ostrava. Today, only a few dozen members of the Jewish community remain in the city. Thanks to Libushe Salomonovičová's decades-long research, thousands of names, faces and stories that might otherwise have been forgotten have been preserved for future generations.
Ruth Franková reporting. A reminder that you're with Czechia in 30 minutes, a half hour of news, current affairs, and interesting stories coming to you from the Czech capital. It is now time for our main feature. For many visitors of Prague, churches are places to admire for a few minutes before moving on to the next attraction. But some reward those who linger a little longer. The Church of St. Martin in the Wall is one of them. Vít Bohanka was shown around by historian and theology student Karel Pacovský.
We are in the Church of St. Martin in the Wall, which is a very nice example of a medieval church in Prague that was built in the 12th century, so the oldest parts were built before 1180. It's very old. Then it was extended in the 14th century, and then later the side aisles here, they were added in the 15th century.
Right, but I suppose like in case of most churches there were some fires, I mean there were some changes, right?
Yeah, maybe the most important change here was the abolition of the church, or when the church was closed by Emperor Joseph II.
That would be late 18th century?
In 1785, and the church was changed to apartments, some shops, and then it didn't resemble a church anymore, and then it was renewed as a church in the early 20th century.
It's called In the Wall. Why is that?
Because when the city of Prague was built around this church in the 13th century, the church that was originally in the center of a village here became part of Prague, and one of its walls was included into the fortification of the newly established city of Prague, or now we call it the Old Town of Prague.
So it was, in a way, part of the fortification, or it was built into the fortification in the wall.
In the wall. But the church was older than the wall, so the wall was just built a little bit later, after 1230. And the wall was here for a long time. Then Charles IV founded the new town of Prague, and then it didn't make sense to have the wall here anymore, but the name survives.
Just for the listeners to imagine, I mean, we are still now in the Old Town, but the Národní třída, Národní Street, we would say Národní Avenue or something, that's where the new town begins, right?
Yes, and exactly at this point where we are now, we are already behind the old wall. We are in the side aisle of the church, we are in the southern aisle of the church, and here where we stand, the listeners cannot imagine it very well, but here really was the wall separating us now from the main nave, which was in the old town of Prague, and now we here are standing already outside in the fortification of the old town of Prague.
You're a historian, and I'm just curious. I always thought that Národní třída was kind of built when they tore down the old town walls.
Yes.
I mean, that's when it was kind of created. Is that correct?
I think there was already a street along the moat, the ditch, part of the fortification. And then later, after the 14th century, when the new town of Prague was built, then slowly the wall was removed and the ditch was filled in with new soil. So I think the ditch was still visible there maybe until the 18th century, maybe until the 19th century. So it lasted a long time.
I've been walking around this church for such a long time, and rarely do we stop sometimes and look around a little bit. If you were to describe, I mean, what is special about this place?
This place is special, first of all, because of its history connected with the Bohemian Reformation, the Czech Reformation. When we walk around, we will see the chalice, the golden chalice with the Bible over there in the front. It commemorates the famous event here in 1414 when the Hussites began to serve the Holy Communion under both kinds. Not only giving bread to the lay people, but wine as well. And it was the first, or one of the first 4 churches in Prague where this practice began, which was then very typical for the Hussites, that it became even their symbol, the chalice.
It seems to me that sometimes in the 21st century we do not appreciate how important this was. This was not just about a formal act, because in the what we now call Catholic Church, in the then proper church, it was only the priests who could take wine, right? But when the people could take wine, I mean, it kind of leveled leveled all the people, right?
Yes.
Do I say that correctly?
It was. It had a deep symbolical meaning, and they really wanted to obey the words of Jesus, who said that everybody should receive from the chalice. And it was also connected with the Eucharistic devotion of that time, because before the Hussites started this communion under both kinds, they also preferred the frequent communion, to go to the Eucharist as often as possible.
And perhaps, again, I mean, back to the significance for them, perhaps you couldn't even reach salvation if you didn't receive communion in the right way, right?
Yes.
So it was about your future life.
Basically. And for them it was really important. We know, for example, there is the Chronicle of Lawrence of Březova, and this event, the beginning of this practice of the Holy Communion under both kinds, is the beginning of the whole Chronicle of Lawrence of Březova. So it was really an event that changed the history for the Hussites, this renewed practice.
And back to this church, I mean, this is one of the places where it was first practiced.
Yes,
probably.
and it's practiced until today, or again, because this church was a Utrecht church, so they practiced this Holy Communion under both kinds until the 1620s, until the time this belonged to the Czech church, Czech Utrecht Church, the Hussite church. Then it was given to the Roman Catholic Church, as every other church in Prague, during the Habsburg rule. And then this...
That probably followed the renewed constitution of the Czech lands. I think that is the English translation.
Yes.
Obnovené zřízení zemské. First for Bohemia, then later, 1 year later, for Moravia. When officially the only church was allowed was the Catholic Church.
Yes, right. So it was after the Bohemian revolt against the Habsburgs, after the Battle of White Mountain.
So how did this church come back to the Protestant denominations?
Yeah, it was in the early 20th century when the city of Prague decided not to demolish this old structure that was already changed to apartments and shops, but to recreate here a church. The original plans were to create here a museum of the Hussite movement. But then it just became church. There were English-speaking services even for a certain time.
Even then?
Yeah. I think in the time of the First Republic and until the Second World War. But slowly also the Czech services started here. In the time of the First Republic, the church was given to the Evangelical Church of Czech Brethren, which is the church that operates here until today. And there is also...
And I mean, I'm just curious. I read that the church is actually renting it, right? From the city of Prague?
Yeah. So the city of Prague is owner of few churches in Prague. St. Martin in the Wall, St. Ignatius on Charles Square, St. Nicholas at the Old Town Square. And maybe also some others. These churches have in common that they were closed by Emperor Joseph II.
Right.
And
so they kind of were transferred later on to the city of Prague.
And city of Prague now rents for long term these buildings to different denominations.
And just correct me if I'm wrong, St. Nicholas on the Old Town Square, that's Československá církev husitská, the Czechoslovak Hussite Church, but this is Czech Brethren. And St. Ignatius on the Charles Square, that's Catholic.
Yeah, Roman Catholic.
Roman Catholic. You had a breakfast here. How often do you meet here? How often do people...
Usually during the academic year, it's every Tuesday morning at 7:30 we meet. There is usually a short prayer, singing, some work like devotion, let's say, and then afterwards people can just speak together, stay here, drink some coffee.
It's kind of small community of people who believe in God.
Yeah, and these are always like different people. It's not always the same group. Sometimes more young people will come, sometimes more elderly people come, and it's just mixed. And also the people who have the program, they are also different. These can be like pastors, these can be just students, just anybody who is here and is willing to say something or to read something.
But there are Sunday services, right?
There are Sunday services. Today there are no more the English-speaking services, but German-speaking services. I think this is a tradition after the fall of communism that the German-speaking parish, Protestant parish, started here. So every Sunday morning there is a German service, and every Sunday evening there is a Czech service. These Czech evening services have a long tradition. Maybe it begins already in the 1950s or 60s when the professors and students of the Protestant Theological Faculty started to have here kind of the university or academic services. And it's like this until today, that this church is mostly associated with young people and the university.
The Evangelical Theological Faculty.
That's today it's part of Charles University. So sometimes you can hear here the students of the faculty who have their first sermons here, or the professors of the university as well. This church is quite unique. Maybe it's the only church in the Czech Republic that doesn't have a stable pastor or
permanent kind of
permanent
or at least
minister, vicar, or anything like this. But even the preachers here, they change every week. Every week preaches someone new, somebody different. So there are maybe like 50 names all around the year that you can meet here in this church, and these are various people. Mostly these are Protestant pastors, but sometimes we have also preachers from the Roman Catholic Church. In 2 weeks there will be a Jesuit preacher who lives at Charles Square at St. Ignatius. We had here last year, for example, a Benedictine abbess preaching here. So these are men and women. So we say that the chancel here is very open, and you can hear here many different styles of sermons, and also the liturgy quite changes depending on the person that leads the service.
So if someone visits Prague, is perhaps not a churchgoer on a regular basis, but would like to have this kind of spiritual experience.
Yes.
What would you recommend? When to come? And why?
So if you know German, you can come for the German service on Sunday at 10:30. Then at 7:30 p.m. we have the Czech services. Maybe you will find somebody here who would help you to understand. So at least you can hear the nice songs accompanied by the organ or by young people on guitar. So maybe it's just nice to sit here and listen.
And anyone can come.
Anyone can come. It's very open. You can even come for the breakfast. We can also change to English or German. But there is maybe the only English-speaking option here are the These prayers. They are every first Monday of the month, except for the summer. So it's every first Monday of the month at 7:30 p.m. It's a nice, let's say, prayer, or it's rather singing of songs in different languages. So it's not only in Czech, it's not only in English, it's also in Latin, French, Spanish, etc. And everything what's being read or said is always read or said in English and in Czech. So it's bilingual. So this is like the international offer of this church, and you are welcome.
Historian Karel Pacovský speaking to Vít Bohanka. And you can find the longer version of the interview on Czechcast, our podcast in English about all things Czech, on all major podcast platforms. And that brings us to the end of today's program here on Radio Prague International. For more news, features, interviews, photos, and videos from Czechia, visit our website at www.radio.cz. You can also browse our full archive of broadcasts and follow us on Facebook, X, and Instagram. This is Anna-Marie Regner saying thank you for listening and goodbye.